So today we are going to be jumping in under the sea and we are going to be painting some kelp. Now this does kind of fit into the big picture here. So if you've sketched all of these, awesome work. I don't even know what number we're at right now. But we're on like the last, well not the last, we're on the bottom row. So this is once we're done with this, there's nothing below it. So we're actually going to go underwater and we do this cool little cross section, which I love with watercolor because you can do it, like cameras are wet, but your imagination can go literally anywhere, including under the ocean. So we got some cool bulk help here, traced it all out, and I'm gonna have these up here just so I can kind of match my water texture. But let's just dive right in, literally in this case, as we're going underwater. So got my brush here, got my newly filled palette, sort of. You can see I'm already out of brown. That's fine. And let's dive in right here. Oh, just realized my microphone is slightly different. Okay, well, if you can't hear me, well, let me know. Had some issues earlier, but that should never stop art. It's like training wheels, right? If they fall off, then you just have to learn how to bike. Okay, so we are going to be painting this whole section right here, and we're going to start. I've got kind of this little bit of a wave situation kind of going on here. So that's kind of where like the camera or your eye would be theoretically. So we're going to kind of start with this kind of nice blue up here, and then we'll dive in here. So let's begin with that one right now. And I'm going to just get a little drop of water on all my colors, get them activated and ready. I'm thinking I'm going to start with a little bit of this cerulean blue and then mix in some of my dark blue just to match. Some nice light kind of sky blue, because the sea is reflecting the sky. That's actually why the sea is blue. Pretty crazy, isn't it? The sky is just the atmosphere bending the light, and the sea is just a bunch of water, but it reflects the sky. That's why you get that cool color. And I am just adding a little bit of this right along the edge. And then I'm going to add in my dark blue to match what I had up earlier. So maybe your sea is lighter, whatever it is. I'm just going to try to match it just a bit. Kind of doing all wet on wet just so it stays nice and smooth, nice and calm. There we go, something kind of like that. There is a lens that you can do for camera. That's how you get these shots, because if you put your camera lens, they'll just be blurry. But if you have like a really fancy film camera or something, it's called an over-under. It's basically a giant bubble. You film through a giant bubble, and that's how you get these kind of shots that split the water. They're super expensive, though. So if you want a cheaper version, just paint it. There we go. So that should match just fine. We're going to let all of this dry, so if you're still working on it, that's fine. But I'm going to move on to these little kelpy bits because we're going to use our paint to kind of carve them out. There's a couple different ways we can do this. We could, if you wanted to, you could just do a big kind of swath of blue or something like that and just, wait for that to dry and then paint your kelp over top. That's totally acceptable. If you want to go with something like that, absolutely. But I do want to kind of try these new techniques and kind of learn some stuff together. So this is kind of a different one. There'll be a lot of kind of carving these little shapes out, but it could work pretty well. So let's give this a go. It's going to start with just a little bit of this green, I'm thinking. Maybe green, maybe a bit of yellow or something. But pretty light. Don't worry about getting the perfect color. So I'm just going to add a little bit over top of all of these right here. And you can see just how loose I am being. This is like second grader on a coloring book loose. This might even be first grader on a coloring book loose. Very, 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 very loose because all of this is going to be kind of covered up by something slightly darker. There we go, something just like that. Perfect. And while it's still wet, you can add some other colors too if you want. So maybe we want to add a bit of brown or something, but these bulk kelp are kind of full of color. So maybe there's a touch of brown on this, maybe a little bit down here. Maybe we have just a little bit up here, maybe even some purple. Moving fast because I want to get it nice and smooth while it's all still wet. but just something simple and easy like that. But it's still light. You kind of see that? It's going to dry lighter too, but it's still pretty light because we need it to be light enough to be able to cover it up by some blues and things that are going to come in here in just a moment. So now that we have all of that, oh shoot, I just missed a whole kelp. What was I thinking? Let's get that one in now too. See if I got enough of this color. There we go. So now that we got enough of that, let's just, there we go, add a touch of this, maybe add a bit more of a brown. Nice complex color. What's so cool is because it is still wet on wet and we don't care about how loose we're being, we get these really interesting gradients of color, and then we're going to hide all of that by painting all of this in much darker tones. And it would be so hard to do that in reverse. I mean, imagine if we painted all of the blue in first and then we tried to add in these light colors. You'd be trying to get a little bit of the perfect brown or trying to match it with something else. This just gives you like an even keel kind of throughout all of it. It's also great for texture if you wanted to just sort of spritz a bunch of little droplets or something, or maybe add some salt or whatever it is. You can kind of add all your texture now and then cover it up. Otherwise, you'd be just trying to make it match. Let's also work on these rocks as well. These can be any color you want. I might make some of them kind of fun. Maybe kind of put some oranges and some yellows down there. I love picking up rocks on the beach and just, when you're walking and you see the perfect thing in the surf. And it's always kind of funny to me how they never feel as beautiful out of the water. Like they're great, but once you put them in your pocket and they dry out, for me, they always kind of feel like less lustrous. Whereas in the ocean, they're just like these little gems. So I'm going to paint mine in kind of as bright as they feel when I'm picking them up. All those oranges and translucents, and I'll put some brown in there too, just for fun. But I'm going nice and bright with these rocks. A little bit right here, a little bit right there. Lovely. And then maybe even a bit of purple or something. Let's try some of that. Get my brush nice and kind of dried off a little bit before I do some of these, because I want that nice accurate brush stroke. Touch of purple in a few of these. I might even add a little bit of some blue just for fun. Something just a little bit different. Perfect. That's going to be great. Just testing, seeing how stuff is doing. Still pretty wet, but that's okay. If we want, we can kind of come in and we can add a few little shapes, maybe a bit of shadows at this point. Because like I said, the last thing we'll do is we'll kind of carve out all of this with some darker colors. But what we've got right here are some bull kelp, sort of. I'm not totally sure if I got these exactly anatomically perfect, but there's a lot of these in Alaska. And they are these really cool kelps that use kind of floats and little air to kind of hold themselves up. They're super strong. They make these really cool little whips, and you can eat them too. Also, did you know that kelp is responsible for like 25% of all the oxygen that you breathe? Trees are helpful. Trees make about 25%. 50% comes from little tiny microorganisms in the water, little tiny plants that are all over the ocean. But then the other 25% is kelp, like an equal amount as all of the rainforest and savannas and trees on Earth, all that oxygen, that is from kelp. Pretty cool stuff. Okay, now we're gonna, sorry, not kelp, but like seaweed, you know what I'm talking about. Now I'm just gonna add something slightly darker just to give a little bit of shadow maybe to these little air sacs down here. Not necessary at all, especially if you got some good kind of color in there. But if you want, you could also add, say, a little stripe or two, or something like this. Maybe yours are kind of boring and you want to add a bit of texture or shade. Now is sort of the time to do that. But if you nailed it, if you got like a cool bloom or something, leave that alone. Don't touch it. The easiest thing to do in watercolor is to ruin a watercolor. Okay, it's got something like that. That looks lovely. So how do we do this next section? This is kind of going to be interesting and a little bit tough. So over-unders are sort of what this is based off of. So you get a little bit of that water in there, a little bit of shade. But this part right here is sort of where it splits. So that's going to be lighter. and then this is going to be darker. So we kind of need to find a shade in the middle. So I'll probably start with dark and go to light on this little piece of a wave here. So let's see how that works. I'll probably grab some dark blue, and then I might touch in a bit of indigo. We haven't worked too much with indigo lately, but this is going to be kind of one of those where we'll dive in a little bit. I'm going to have it darker on the top and lighter on the bottom. And it's a little bit confusing, so let me just show you. I'm hoping that my top is nice and dry. Oh, it looks fine. Add a little bit of dark right there. And then I kind of come down to something lighter. That should be kind of the feel I'm going for. Just a little bit lighter right here. There we go. Got a little bit of my cerulean blue. Just like that. And there you go. So it's not the wildest thing, but it should do just enough. Oh, you can see where this was not fully dry. That's okay. It's the ocean. Can't blame it for being a bit liquidy. And up here, I'm seeing that there's still just a touch of wetness. I might even try to see if I can get a bloom out of it. Now that I know that it's going to bleed a little bit, just to add some of those fun wave textures. Even if it's not wet, if you want to add a little bit of wave texture, that's fine too. Something kind of like that. Not the most contrasting painting yet, but you'll see this is all going to change shortly. Now I am going to expedite the process just a little bit. I'm going to toss this down by the heater just because of the weather we're having. And that should speed things up just a touch. But if you want to see kind of an example of where we're going with this, you can just look at some of these other paintings that we've done, probably most specifically like this bear. So same kind of technique. This edge right here, if you remember when he painted it, like this was just all over the place, and then how it's sort of carved out, and you got this really lovely way that we can add all these other things. It's the exact same kind of technique. We'll be doing that. We'll just kind of be reaching a darkness at this level and then kind of scooting things around all over the place as well. Also, if you have any other questions about any of this, I would love to hear them. This has been so fun to be able to kind of capture a lot of this, and I can't wait to kind of keep on growing and learning together. One other quick example, if you have done the KMTA series, the Kenai Mountain Turning Arm Heritage Area, we did a really fun series. You can find that on the Trailbound Sketches website for totally free. You just got to go sign up. The really, really fun water ones, we did kind of a whole series where it kind of goes below the water. And right in here we go. They'll line up, which is really, really fun. This right here kind of shows a good example as well of what we're aiming for. You see we got this kind of light water on top, and then like our sea otters we did beforehand, and then sort of carved out jellyfish, or a little bit of a mix of both. But that's kind of what we're shooting for here. It's a confusing technique. It's really hard to use in the wild, but it looks so, so, so cool, I find, to add in something like this. Okay, bringing it back, seeing if we're any drier. That's how you know it's real. If I was able to pull it off, where I just had like several different versions, then I could have just switched between them. But the beauty with watercolors, there's no way that you'd be able to paint the exact same thing twice. It's like a chess game. There's just too many variabilities. Okay, so we're gonna start. If yours is dry, if it's not, it's totally fine to wait a second. Just doing the finger test. We're gonna start by adding a drop of water right here, right in the kind of spot where it's nice and lots of ocean and waves. The reason I'm going to put some of these kind of like reserves of water is because I want all of this mostly to happen in one fluid motion, and this kind of just keeps stuff a little bit wetter. If you live in a super, super, super humid place, you probably don't need to do this. If you live under the water, well, let me know how watercolors going for you. All right. So next, this right here, if it's dry, this is going to be the darkest spot right above the ocean for some reason, even though it's closest to the light, is the darkest place. So I'm going to put basically pure indigo and blue right up here. And then we're just going to kind of pull it down and push it down. But if you can leave areas like this that we put some water on, just kind of to their own devices, it'll create these really interesting effects. There's a real chance this is not going to go according to plan. So bear with me if mine goes totally off the rails, but it's kind of just some of the risk, some of the fun too, of doing something like this. Touch of blue, a little bit indigo, and let's dive in. Just gonna go right over the edge. You only really have to deal with a couple edges here because the capillary action, that water that's gonna be moving around, it will help you out. So all I need to do is kind of touch blue to this and it will slowly flow through all of the rest. Kind of see just barely touching the edges here. You can kind of break stuff up into sections too if you want. Keep it from trying to dry all at once. So you just got to try to match that a little bit later on. But here we go. This is kind of the indigo block. I still got it on the brush. We're adding a bunch there and a bunch here. And you'll see I kind of, well, maybe you saw, maybe you didn't. I kind of missed the line, but as long as I can kind of smooth stuff out, I'll be in good shape. Also, if you feel like things are too jittery, if you feel like it's not quite as smooth and not quite there, it's okay. One, it's watercolor. It'll look great. And if you can kind of get some, some life or some movement into the brush strokes on your hand, then all the better. This doesn't need to be perfectly overlapped. And two, we're always so critical because we knew where that piece of seaweed was. You can see I'm already missing a bunch of this one. We knew where that seaweed started. Nobody else will. So if it doesn't feel good, just finish it anyway and give yourself a day and look back at it, and you'll see it really kind of it'll grow on you. Next, I'm going to move to pure blue. So we have indigo and blue. Next, I'm just going to pure blue. And now this is kind of the layer I'm going to be adding. But because we already added that, I don't have to go back over everything. The blue is just kind of naturally squeeze its way up there. Just moving down. I'm lucky. I've got a number, what are you? A number 8 brush, which I find kind of to be a Goldilocks brush for me. But if you need something, if you feel like you need something smaller, that's fine too. But I'd say mostly what you're looking for is a brush that comes to a really nice point. Some brushes are more rounded, which will make this kind of work a little tougher. If you're using one of those, that's okay too. It just means that you're a better artist than the rest of us. Just know that. Or at least becoming a better artist because you are working with something that's a little bit tougher. Just wait till you get some nice pointed brushes though. You're gonna be like, it'll be like taking the parachute off of a runner, and all of a sudden you'll be going so fast. No restraints. Okay, slowly working down here with this blue. I'm not going to get it all in one perfect fell swoop, so there are going to be gradients, but the ocean is pretty darn forgiving in that. The other thing too is if things are getting messy, you can always come back in with a gel pen or gouache or colored pencil. So if you want those real strong, distinct lines, there are a lot of ways to get them. So don't worry about it too much. Mistakes are what learning is born from, so it's important to make a few of them. Also, I've heard that the only cure for perfectionism is to make a lot of bad art and love it. So that's what I think about every time something goes wrong. But I'd say so far this is going pretty right. Let's see. Check that out. How cool is this? Okay, so we're still only on one half. So once we get the other half, that's when it'll really kind of break free from the seafloor, so to speak. But a little bit down here, a little bit over here, and it's coming to life. One leaf at a time. That's just how things go. Whether it's a hard hike or a rough day or whatever it is, it's just one piece at a time, one sketch at a time, 1 hour at a time. They all add up. There we go. And then just a few down here. right into our little rocks. Technically, I guess you could go kind of lighter toward the rocks if you want, but I'm just kind of trying to finish it really. And you'll see some of this might look a little bit different, some of it might look the same, but that's okay. We're just kind of aiming for a loosely even feel, but it's time to hit the other side here. Just mixing out my perfect consistency, and then in we go. Just like that. Around. There we go. Look at that big piece of kelp right there. And now it's free, kind of. This is a tough technique because I feel like it never quite, like you never quite see it. You kind of have a lot of faith until the very end. But when it does work, it feels so cool. A lot of watercolors are using this technique, but you are never going to see the process without it. And it would feel so naked. So you just know that these artists kind of had some massive amounts of faith or just have done it again and again and again and again. So they just know it works. Oh, there you go. You see, just took apart a little bit of my plant. That's okay. It actually even looks cooler because it looks like it's part of the shadow. But then here we go, just a couple little bits, and we are in good shape. But watch this right here, and blam! How cool is this? Oh my gosh, love it. But that's, I mean, that's really what it takes is just a little bit. Oh, let's see, got maybe a little bit of water to let that continue its journey. But that's really all it takes is just a little bit of forethought and then this like loose technique. This is not the fanciest thing on earth, but it does look really cool to me. Very curious to see how yours turn out. So if you do get a chance, definitely send them over, either on Instagram or the website or whatever it is. We love to be able to share this stuff on the newsletter in particular. People just, it's so cool to see the different variations that people get. So if you're not subscribed, definitely check that out. But this is a really fun way, and honestly, it's kind of cathartic. Maybe you don't feel the same. Maybe it feels a little chaotic, but I kind of love something like this because I don't have to think too much. I do my top, I do my bottom. We've already got the leaves, and then it's just a matter of just filling the stuff in. That's all that really needs to happen. And with a really big version, or if you do a tutorial like the KMTA series and you do a bunch of them, it's kind of nice because you can just sort of relax into it. There's no real creative choices. It's just gotta put blue on the sheet of paper. Here we go. But here we go, a little bit of some bull kelp. And right here, what you're looking at, this is the corner. This is the corner of our 5x5, 25 piece set. And it's kind of wild that we've already reached one of the corners. It's going to scoot all the way over until we're at the corner up there, and then we'll be done. Granted, this is the biggest set, so it's still going to take a while, but it is so cool to see how far we've gone, just learning all these different techniques, and I can't wait to see where we go next. But thank you so much for being along in the journey. It has been so fun to paint together.